and he's crossing the 50-yard line. He has no one to the 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Otterbein!
Good snap, good hold. The kick is up from Gaither, and it is good. Takes the give to Rudolph. Sizemore throwing off his back foot. What a catch by Bryson Ray! Oh my goodness!
Live from the studios at 33 College View, it's time for the Tim Doup Coaches Show on 97.5 WOBN. Now, here's your host, David Kinder.
Good afternoon and welcome into the studios at 97.5 WOBN for the Week 10 edition of the Tim Doup Coaches Show. We have a great show planned for you today. We'll recap Saturday's loss to John Carroll and we'll preview the season finale this Saturday with the Ohio Northern Polar Bears. Our guest in studio, head coach Tim Doup and senior place kicker Alana Gaither from Akron Firestone High School, who is Otterbein's leading scorer, 7 for 7 on field goals so far this year and has scored 94 points in her Otterbein career. Alana, very close to the 100 career point mark. Is that a milestone you knew that you were so close to?
No, not at all, actually, but but that's cool. I mean, if I get there, I get there. If I don't, I don't.
2 field goals would get there Saturday, but I'm sure Coach would much rather see it be 6 extra points that get her to the 100-point mark.
That'd make me probably be a little bit more calm.
Well, the Tannin Cardinal have now lost 2 in a row after falling Saturday to the number 6 John Carroll Blue Streak, 66-13, and University Heights. Otterbein now sits at 5-4 overall, 5-3 heading into the final week of the season. Coach, obviously a lot of struggles in this ball game. First, let's focus on the running game. They struggled to move the ball yet again. 11 yards last week in the loss to Mount Union, just 25 yards rushing in the game at JCU. Why the struggles in the past 2 weeks so much?
I'll be quite honest. Their D line is just better than us. Their D line was better than our O line, and that's when it comes down to when you have some seniors on the other side, and we're still we still don't have any seniors. They were just more physical than us, and when that happens, then if you can't move a D lineman, then you're gonna have trouble running the ball. No matter who's back there, it doesn't matter.
One of the unique things we saw in this game, one play in the first half, Cole Benner lined up as a traditional running back in the backfield, not in the Wildcat formation. Was that because of depth at running back or just trying some new things out offensively?
Just trying some new things. We were shifting him and Toombs from the backfield out to wide receiver. And then I think the other time we shifted Toombs and Brick from the backfield out to receivers, and then he became the quarterback.
We've been hearing a lot about injury at the running back position. Obviously, with Reed Hutchinson, we saw a lot of John Piles going with the number 1 and a bit more of Drew Irvin. Can we expect that 1-2 combination to stay the same?
Yeah, and even Speedy Hammond. The 3 of them were basically just rotating them. Seeing who's hot, seeing who can do what. But, I still see more of a 3-back rotation, for this last week.
If you had to pick a highlight from the game, I suppose it would be senior wide receiver Ryan Toombs. Caught 8 balls, 122 yards, a career high, and a 45-yard passing touchdown reception in the first half. You had to be pleased with his play. Would you give him the MVP?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he stepped up, and made some big plays. And like I said, he's been doing it all year. And making that switch from quarterback to receiver was really paying dividends not only for him but also our team.
Brick Davis had his ups and downs in this game, threw for 2 scores, but ended up throwing for under 50%, had 2 interceptions and a fumble on Otterbein's second drive that the Blue Streaks picked up, took back 34 yards for a touchdown. We talked last week about trying not to get OAC ambushed early. That score from JCU was their 4th defensive score of the year. How costly was that early in the game for that to happen?
Well, when it's not a fumble, very costly. I mean, I have still to this day, we've watched it on film several times, and I argued it during the game. I don't know how you call that a fumble. And, I mean, he was down. He rolled over. The ball was sitting there. He was getting up ready for the next play, and the kid just picks it up and starts running back. All 3 officials I talked to say they didn't see it. I mean, it's just – that can't happen. That was just pure momentum for them to jump up 10-0. So that, when you watch it on film and even live, that was not a fumble. But the other ones, you can't throw 3 interceptions and fumble. We had 5 turnovers if you count that one. In a game of this caliber, you can't turn the ball over 5 times.
We've seen a whole lot of questionable calls this year. Did that one frustrate you the most?
Yeah, you could say that. I thought for sure I was going to get 15. I probably haven't been that upset all year, and but they didn't flag me because they knew I was right. I mean, I was totally right in that situation.
Alana, you only had to come onto the field twice in this game, both times for extra points, so you had a lot of time to sit on the sidelines and evaluate what was going on during the game. What was it in general that you thought John Carroll was doing on offense that was giving Otterbein the most problems?
I just think they had a really good running and throwing game in general. You know, their quarterback's from Pitt, and he's a pretty experienced guy, so I think he gave the team a lot of momentum and threw some good passes and was able to run the ball as well.
You mentioned Mark Myers, another very impressive performance for him. He threw for 282 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. In fact, he's only been picked off 1 time all year. Would you say he's the most talented player you've seen Otterbein go against this year?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think we gave Mount a harder time actually when it came to their quarterback, but definitely thought Mark had a good game. So.
John Carroll also had a very talented kicker in Kresmir Ivkovic. He set the school record on Saturday, kicking his 36th career field goal. As a kicker yourself, you must pay a little bit more attention to the opponent kickers than usual. He only played about the first half, and then they ended up pulling him. But what did you notice that he did well that other place kickers don't do?
He has his own techniques. I mean, every kicker does their own thing. He has very specific. He has a very specific kicking style. He's a good guy, though. He was actually my competition in high school. He went first team all division or all district in Division I, and I went second team. So we were going back and forth our senior year. But he's a good kid, and he deserves the recognition he's been getting this season. So he did a good job. Any
words exchanged on the field between the two former high school rivals?
The past few years we've played against them, we always talk a little bit during pregame. So. Vibes there.
Coach, looking at the defensive side of the ball still, the secondary struggled covering the tight ends. We haven't seen many offenses use the tight ends too often this year, but the Blue Streaks had a whole bunch of them, and they used all 3 of them. The 3 ends combined for 13 receptions, 143 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. Why did the defense struggle so much covering the tight ends?
Well, I know the one was a blown coverage completely. One of our guys just blew a coverage totally, let him run right down the field by himself. I mean, I probably could have caught that pass. But they're good. I mean, they've got very good tight ends. I mean, number 80 is a transfer from Pitt. He started for Pitt a couple games, and he's in there. And Strippy is the other one. He's an St. Ignatius guy. That was a first-team All-Ohio. So they're not only receivers. I mean, they can do it all. They're fast, big, and Myers likes them. I mean, he likes to throw to them, and not only, does he throw to Greenwood and Howell, but he really uses those tight ends well. And when you can have 2 tight ends do what those 2 can, that offense becomes very dangerous in a hurry.
It seemed like half of their team was former St. Ignatius Wildcats. I think we said at one point in the broadcast, 8 of their 11 starters on defense were from the Cleveland area. 7 of 11 on offense were from the Cleveland high school area.
Well, I think they've got 16 guys from Ignatius on their roster.
That's
16,
unbelievable.
And 10 from Mentor Lake Catholic.
Yeah, definitely the definition of a pipeline.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about how talented they are, obviously, with Mark Myers passing the ball and rushing the ball as well. They rushed for well over 200 yards. Their starting back ended up with 203. Did they do anything Saturday that you weren't expecting them to do, or was it all something you planned for?
No, I mean they didn't. They were moving their tight ends a little bit more, I think, than we thought they would, but to get different blocking angles and being able to throw out of it too. But they really didn't do anything. I mean, they ran some pin and pull stuff where they just turn and toss it, and everybody's pulling around the end. I didn't know how much we would see of that, but his big run was just straight ISO. I mean, they lined up fullback up, led up on the linebacker, and away he went. So, I mean, that's just old-fashioned smash mouth right there, smash mouth football. And, they just did a great job. Their O-line did a good job staying on our guys. It was hard for our guys to get off, and When your safety, one of your safeties is leading tacklers, that's never a good situation. So, I mean, that just tells you what was happening.
Again, special teams, not a whole lot of action in this game. 5 punts for Keaton, ended up averaging 36 yards a boot. However, no big returns for a team with the biggest explosive returner in all the league. And Armaris Greenwood had 2 on the year, had a 100-yard return against Capital. You guys managed to bottle him up pretty well, though. What's the grade on the special teams?
Well, I'll tell you, after our coaching, we had a staff meeting yesterday at 12 o'clock, and I said the 2 positive things for me that came out of this game was they didn't return a kickoff for a touchdown, and we didn't get a punt blocked, because I think they're leading the country in pumps blocked. And I've seen them return how many opening kickoffs, and we chose to we kicked to them. So we did a great job there of not giving up one big play to give them 7 points, and I thought that was a big positive.
They get very close a few times, but I thought Keaton did a nice job making sure he got him off.
Yeah, he did a great job. He got roughed on one, and our very first one, I mean, it's clear on film. I mean, he got hit. I mean, and they didn't call it. So, that he wasn't acting at all. His foot was up. The kid clipped his foot. He fell down. But, no, he did a great job catching and just getting it out of there.
On the injury front, everyone make it through okay for the game, and can we expect him to play Saturday?
Yeah, as far as I know right now, we're just dinged up, but nothing major.
66-13, Otterbein Falls and University Heights to John Carroll. They sit at 5-4 overall, 5-3 in conference. We'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll get you the scouting report on the Week 10 opponent, the Ohio Northern Polar Bears. You're listening to the Tim Doup Coaches Show here on WOBN. We'll be right back.
Fewer than 5 out of 100 people give blood. Ever wonder why they do it?
It's the one thing that we can do that we can always afford to do, and hey, you get a snack afterwards. So
snacks are great. I had never knew my blood type, and I found out in doing this that I'm O negative. So there's that added pressure knowing that everyone can use my blood at any time, and so I feel like it's my responsibility.
It's a little extra bragging power too, knowing that you're a universal giver.
Yeah, I'm pretty special.
Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcrossblood.org to make an appointment today.
Hi, I'm Junior Center Grant Knoppenberger. You're listening to the Tim Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. Miss anything from today's episode, you can listen to every show on WOBN's YouTube page.
Hey Cardinal fans, Otterbein Athletics on the Radio is brought to you in part by Westerville Automotive. Serving the Westerville area for 20 years, they have 2 locations on Westerville Road and in the Uptown area, just seconds away from Otterbein on Main Street. They're on the web at westervilleautomotive.com. You can follow them on Facebook at Westerville Automotive Uptown or call them at 614-890-6700.
I used to be one of those irresponsible guys, always goofing off and acting like a real jerk. Girls wouldn't give me the time of day. Hey, Julie, do you have the time?
Shut up.
Then, 30 days before my 18th birthday, I went down to my local post office and registered with Selective Service overnight. I became aware of the man I had suddenly become, eligible for federal student loans, government jobs, and job training, responsible and mature. Hi, Julie. Dinner tonight?
I'd love to, Brad.
So register with Selective Service. It's what a man's gotta do.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do yourself a favor. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's Wireless Companies, and the National Safety Council.
Welcome back to the Week 10 edition of the Tim Doup Coaches Show. Head football coach Tim Doup and senior place kicker Alana Gaither joining me in studio. Otterbein will now turn their attention to the Polar Bears of Ohio Northern, who come into this game with a very similar record of 6-3 overall, 5-3 in OAC play. Coach, it's the exact same situation as last year. Up to this point, every team that you beat last year, you have beat this year. Same with losses. In 2013, you closed out the season with a 42-21 loss to ONU up in Ada to finish 5-5. The same exact situation this year could happen. If you win the game, you finish 6-4. It may only be the difference of one game, but doesn't it feel like there's a much bigger difference than one game between 6-4 and 5-5?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what I told the team after the game. That's all I said. I didn't really dwell on what had just happened. I just told them, you can go one way or the other. You can go down or up, and it's going to be up to them. We can either finish 5-5 and 5-4 in the conference, or you can go 6-4 and be 6-3 and finish fourth all by yourself at 6-3 in the conference, which is a lot different than to me going 5-4 and finishing fifth, I believe.
How much would that help define the success of the season to be able to say that you finished above 500 after in the preseason you were picked only 7th in the polls?
Yeah, I mean it's huge, and if we pull this off and beat them, when you look at it, and the 4 teams that we've lost to then we're all ranked. I mean, and 3 of them were in the top 10, and then Heidelberg, was flirting around 24, 23. I think it's for the springboard for next year is huge.
Alana, it's senior night Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Obviously, a senior will be the last time you ever put on the football uniform. A Cardinal victory will put this senior class at 22-18 in their time here in Westerville. Do you get the feeling that a win Saturday would really make the difference in defining the success of the season?
Definitely, and it's weird to think that we have a similar record as last season. I just feel like this season we've put a lot more points up on the board. We've had a lot more success on the field that doesn't necessarily show in our record. So coming out 6-4 would definitely mean a lot to the seniors, and I think it would show give it a better look at the success we've had. So
I've been at every single game this year, and I definitely get the same feeling as well. Alana, for you and 20 other players, this obviously being senior day will be the last time you take the field at Memorial Stadium as an Otterbein Cardinal. It's going to be a very emotional day for a lot of people. What does senior day mean to you personally?
Senior day means to me just perseverance, and players might hate on me for saying this, but just like love, I guess, for all the seniors that we have for one another. I mean, you come in with, I think my class came in with maybe like 70 or 80 kids, and now there's 20 of us. So, completing 4 years of college football is definitely, it feels like an accomplishment, and we're a tight-knit group. So, I don't know. It'll be an emotional day.
When you reflect on your career, what is it that you're going to miss most about being a Cardinal football player?
I will definitely miss most the camaraderie. Personally, like we could have gone 0-10 3 years I've played, and I would still have had a good time, and I still would have gone 4 years. So I'll definitely miss the guys and just the team for sure.
I think you might have had a good time, but Coach Doup probably wouldn't have had such a good time going 0-10.
I probably still wouldn't be here.
Focusing on ONU now, you've been involved in 3 other games with Ohio Northern. They always seem to play Otterbein really tough and always seem to have a decent record going into this game. What do you remember most about the Polar Bears that they do well that could give Otterbein some trouble?
I just remember them playing pretty clean. Like, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They know how to drive the ball down, and we just need to also play clean. We can't make mistakes. We can't give them the opportunity to take advantage of our mistakes. So I think it should be a good game, so we'll see.
Focusing more on the defensive side of things, the defense goes up against a very talented quarterback yet again this week in senior Pat Angle. He's a transfer from Youngstown State in high school. He was the Ohio Offensive Player of the Year his senior year. This is his final year as well. His last game in an Ohio Northern uniform, so you know he's going to be excited for it. Has thrown for over 2,000 yards this year, 21 touchdowns, just 5 interceptions. What's the most important thing Otterbein can do defensively to try to slow him down?
I mean, honestly, when you have 2 senior quarterbacks going against each other, I think, especially for our defense, just playing with your heart this game. We're in similar situations. Ohio Northern's looking to get the 6-4 record as well. So just not making mistakes, and I think watching our penalties as well will help out.
Looking at the weather forecast Saturday, obviously very important for a kicker. It's supposed to be in the low 40s, no chance of rain, very little wind. Has to be pretty beneficial to the kicking game.
Oh, for sure. I hate I hate kicking in the rain. I don't know. It just makes the ball a lot heavier. So especially a good sunny day would be ideal. But
hopefully we'll see a lot of sunshine, and we'll see 6 kicking points up the board so you can get to that century mark as well. Coach, switching our attention to the offense side of the ball, Coach Dean Paul has been in Ada for 11 years now. 4 of those seasons, the Bears have won 8 or more games. He's another guy that's been in the Ohio Athletic Conference for a long time. He played his ball at Mount Union, was an all-conference running back in 89 and 90, which is about the same time that you were playing center here. So you guys were on the same side of the ball, so you didn't go head-to-head, but you were on the field or in the game at the same time. You mentioned last week that there's some coaches in the conference that just plain don't get along. What's the relationship you have with Coach Paul?
Dean and I are fine. We talk, we text, if we have questions for each other. But, no, Dean's a great guy. He's done a great job at Northern. And, he's a guy – I get along with Dean fine. And, we'll talk before the game. And, he's a good all-around guy and just does a good job.
What can we expect their defense to line up? We saw a lot of that Bear front last Saturday against John Carroll. How can we expect the Polar Bears to line up?
They'll be more of a forefront, and then, boy, they like blitzing those linebackers. They bring linebackers, quite a bit in both insides. You never know which way they're coming from. They do a good job disguising with their defensive line and the twists and the stunning and the slanting and the angling. They're always doing something different every play. So, we got to be ready for what they're going to give us and be able to protect it. And, like I said, we're still trying to figure out a way to get back to running the football.
Any one player on the defensive side of the ball stand out for you for ONU?
Yeah, their middle linebacker is very good, number 45. He's been there. He does a great job. A couple of both their DNs, Kenny played for him last year. So, I like their DNs. I like their couple inside backers, and their one safety, the sophomore, is doing a good job. So, they got into some new faces from last year, but I think they're a little bit more aggressive, to be honest.
What do you think Otterbein can exploit Saturday?
Well, we got to get back to doing, offensively, what we've done best, what we've done well all year. These past 2 weeks we've struggled running. And that's just the 2 defenses we just went up against are 2 of the top defenses in the country. It is. I'm frustrated, but it is what it is. And, we got to get back to being able to run the ball to open up that throwing game a little bit and take a little bit of pressure off Brick. I feel bad. He's, running for his life, and now he gets protection, but he bails anyway because he thinks he's going to get hit and he's not. And then other times, it plays mind games with your quarterback. So we got to get back to running the football and take some pressure off him and just let him relax and play the game.
Coach, we've talked a lot about this year about being balanced offensively, and if you look at their defensive numbers, it's almost uncanny. On average, they give up 199 yards rushing per game, 198 yards passing per game. When you see statistics like that in your pregame, do you think it's something that leads you to believe that you can have success running and passing?
Well, going into games, I've always told everybody, if we can throw the ball for 200 and run the ball for 200, you have a great chance of winning. If you're 50-50 balanced and you can throw for 200, run for 200, you have a good chance to win the game. And right now that's what they're giving up. And, we just got to be able to run the ball a little bit better than we have in the past 2 weeks.
Their defense has been terrible at getting pressure on quarterbacks this year. Just 5 sacks all season long, by far worse in the OAC. After we said Davis has been pressured in the past 2 weeks, and you have to imagine this is a game where you'd like to see a 0 in the sack column.
Yeah, Brick he's just different, where he's getting pressure, but he's not getting sacked. The last couple of weeks, he really hasn't been sacked, but I think once or twice against Mount and John Carroll, and those are 2 great defenses. He's just smart. He does run around a little bit craziness at times. I think this week I saw him back one time. He was 30 yards from the line of scrimmage because he's trying to do something crazy. But that's one thing he does. He avoids the sack. And unfortunately last year we didn't avoid the sack, and we got put in a lot of bad situations. But he figures out a way to get out of it, either, running for it, throwing the ball out of bounds. He's just doesn't tries to not put us in any bad positions.
There was one play I saw. He took the snap from the 25-yard line.
He took the snap
and when
from
he
the
threw
30.
it away, he was in his own end
Yeah,
zone.
he was. It was the 30.
But he avoided the sack
it.
and able to get rid of it.
Got rid of it.
Lived to play another down.
30 yards deep.
In the past 4 games, the Cardinals have scored just 10 points in the first quarter. Coach, how important will it be to try to score early in this game?
I think it's huge. I mean, we've got to come. We've got to be able to score like we did early in the season. We've just got to come out firing and got to be able to score and hopefully hold them without scoring. I think that's huge. I don't like being 7-7 or if we can be up front, right out of the gate and make them play catch up. Obviously, it plays to our advantage.
I remember 2 years ago in the win against Ohio Northern, we saw a 61-yard halfback pass for a touchdown from Brock Brzanko to Chris Irwin. If I remember right, we haven't seen a trick play quite like that since then. Any chance we see some trickery in the last game of the 2014 season?
It just all depends on how the game's going. You just never know, But a trick play is just a normal play to us. We just haven't had an opportunity to do anything. So I would, probably say chances are you won't see a halfback pass, but you could see something, something different.
Alana, that was your sophomore year. You remember that play?
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, you can hear the season finale of the 2014 football season right here on WOBN 97.5. Kickoff is at 1:30 from Memorial Stadium, and it's Senior Day. Live coverage will start at 1 o'clock. Myself and Elijah Gonzalez will have all the play-by-play. Well, there's another big football game going on Saturday besides the one here in Westerville, and that one's up in Alliance, and it will determine the OAC championship. Coming up after the break, we'll get Coach and Alana's thoughts on one of the biggest games of the year in the OAC. You're listening to the Tim Doup Coaches Show here on 97.5 WOBN. We'll be right back after this.
Football is a sport that unites fans, players, and coaches alike in a spirit of competition and camaraderie. Football season has come to our area, and while you're watching a game with friends or sharing in the excitement with family, be sure to celebrate responsibly. Never pick up the keys and drive if you've had too much to drink. And if you're 21, drinking alcohol is against the law. Remember, alcohol is different. Let's all work together to keep our roads and community safe and have a winning season.
Be sure to log on to WOBN.net for a complete broadcast schedule of music, talk shows, and sports. That's WOBN.net.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans.
When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer.
I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day.
Football
I want to be a
stadium.
bike that races around the country.
I want to be a bench on a forest trail.
When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Would your business survive a disaster? Nearly 2/3 of businesses aren't prepared for an emergency, and 40% of businesses that experience a disaster never recover. Make an emergency plan now before it's too late. For a free online tool that helps you develop an emergency plan to keep your business up and running should disaster strike, visit ready.gov/business. Brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, the American Red Cross, and the Ad Council.
Can't make it to one of the football games this year? Well, WOBN has you covered with live broadcast of all 10 football games this year, home and away. Join us 30 minutes before kickoff for pregame and stay with us long after the final whistle for analysis and updates on what else happened in college football. It's all right here on 97.5 WOBN and streaming live anywhere in the world on WOBN.net. Welcome back to the program. Senior place kicker Alana Gaither and head coach Tim Doup in studio with me for the final segment of the Week 10 edition of the Tim Doup Coaches Show. Well, there's a huge game in Westerville this Saturday, obviously, but another big game is going to be taking place up in Alliance, Ohio, as the number 6 team in all of the land, the John Carroll Blue Streaks, will take on the number 3 team in the country, the Mount Union Purple Raiders. Both teams undefeated, and a win would clinch the outright OAC championship. Mount Union has not lost an OAC game since 2005, and they've won at least a share of every conference title since 1992. Well, that was before I was born, so that's been a long time. We'll see both. We've seen both teams in consecutive weeks, obviously. Mount in Week 8, JCU in Week 9. Obviously, both are very talented teams. Both have very good quarterbacks. Mark Myers at JCU, Kevin Burke from Mount U. So, obviously, we're not going to ask for a score prediction or anything like that, but we'll ask you just for some general thoughts about what you'd expect to see in the game, Coach.
Well, I think skill-wise, I think they're both very skilled. I think they both got great linebackers. They both all have great secondaries. Obviously, receivers, running backs, and the quarterback. What it's going to come down to is which O-line is better that day and which D-line is better that day. I think that's the key matchup of the whole thing is, how well is John Carroll's defensive line played against Mount's O-line, and can John Carroll's O-line, handle Mount's D-line? That's what it's going to come down to up front. I think, both of them have some of the best skill in the country, in my opinion. It's just a matter of who's better up front.
After seeing both of them in consecutive weeks, would you say that there's one part of the game that one team has an edge over the other?
Whew, I don't know. They both run the ball very well, and they both throw the ball. They both stop the run very well. I think it comes down to frankly, who's better up front on Saturday. That's what it's going to come down to. They both can score. They both can stop the score. I mean, it's flip a coin. Who's better up front, and that's who's going to win the game.
Alana, in the break, you had some passionate things to say about this football game. So what are some of your thoughts on the game Saturday that's going to take place at Mount Union Stadium?
I mean, I think it's cool that there's 2 teams in the OAC that are doing so well. I think it shows how competitive our league actually is. But I agree with Coach. I think they're both great teams, and they both have excellent quarterbacks and skill players. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but.
Spoken like a true coach right there. Real good coach talk.
She's smart. She knows not to put anything out there.
Do you think it's good for the conference if JCU can dethrone Mount from that spot they've had for so long as the number 1 team in the league?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think that's a tough question. I think Mount. I don't know. I guess they'll get some good competition, but. I don't know. I don't want to give away all my opinions exactly, but I don't know. It'll be a good game, and I'll be excited to see what happens. So, we'll see.
Coach, lastly, we'll ask you a similar question. Do you think it's good for the OAC to finally see Mount Union get knocked off the top of the conference?
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, but then again, it might not be. You don't know with recruiting and everything else. I mean, the streaks have got to end at some point. Put it that way. I mean, you can't win every game forever. But like I said, I think they're very evenly matched. If it happens, I mean, I probably wouldn't fall out of my chair in shock. But with that being said, Mount is the top dog until somebody beats them. There's still that mystique. There's that it's different, and but like I said, I think it's going to be a great football game. I wish both of them luck. I mean, obviously, both of them are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, let the best team win. It is in Alliance.
Yeah.
So home field advantage for Mount. I could play a factor. The weather could play a factor. It's going to be cold. In the 30s, maybe snowing. So there's just so many factors. But again, If John Carroll beats them, like I said, I'm not going to fall out of my chair in shock. And if Mount wins, it's just Mount won.
Yeah,
so toss up the coin and let's go.
Yeah, it certainly won't be the last game of the year for either of the teams, though.
No, they're both going to make it.
A difficult question, I know, and we appreciate you guys answering it as truthful as you possibly can without giving away too much. Saturday's football game from Memorial Stadium will kick off at 1:30. It's senior day at Memorial Stadium. If you can't make it to the game, you can hear it right here on 97.5 WOBN. Tune in and you'll hear Alana's last game in an Otterbein Cardinal uniform, and you'll see if she gets the 6 points so she can get the 100-point in her career.
Keep saying that, don't you? Now it's going to be in the back of my mind the whole game.
There's going to be a 4th down and 1 where you're thinking, do we go for it or we kick the field goal?
Kick the field goal.
And the field goal might give her the 100 points. It's going to be in the back of his mind. Well, tune in and you'll see what Coach decides to do in that situation. Live coverage starts at 1 o'clock. If you missed anything from today's episode, you can listen to it in every episode on WOBN's YouTube page. Join us next Wednesday when possibly we'll be live from the Campus Center doing a live broadcast with a player yet to be named, but we'll recap the ONU game and we'll recap the entire 2014 football season live from the Campus Center. So come out and you can see Coach Doup and say hello to him. For Coach Doup, Alana Gaither, and everyone tuned in at home, this is David Kinder signing off. We'll talk to you on Saturday.